Hi, everybody. This is Zach. I'm here with Vidhi, Ria, and Mrityunjoy. We're here to discuss whether Bollywood is quote unquote Bullywood. And this is following on from the very tragic suicide of Sushant Singh Rajput, who was a fairly prominent actor, but seemed that he was stymied by from his progress by the fact that there seems to be a Bollywood cartel or mafia. This is what Arnab Goswami claims, and we're just doing an impromptu discussion about that. Uh, does anybody want to have an opening statement or to give their initial thoughts on the matter? It's a pretty free-flowing discussion, and we're going to keep it maybe 20-25 minutes as discussed among ourselves.
Cool. I think when I saw this appear on my Instagram newsfeed, and I had obviously heard of Sushant Singh Rajput. I mean, admittedly, I haven't seen a single film of his, not even the MS Dhoni one, which was apparently a huge blockbuster in the year that it was released. And what really struck me was that he was a really, really young, upcoming, kind of Bollywood aspirant from a small town, and he'd kind of made his way. And I didn't know much about his life at all, and I hadn't seen any of his films. But then when I read about kind of his suicide, I started to kind of read more about him, and how he his origin story, and like how he came to do what he came to do. And I think that's when I got really invested in the story, because what struck me about his life was that he was actually a fairly he was on a different track. He was interested in science. He was doing his engineering in Delhi, and then he suddenly changed tracks to changed his dreams to kind of want to enter drama and then the world of Bollywood. So it was in that sense he's unique, in the sense that most of the Bollywood stars or Bollywood actors and actresses don't really go down the education route at all, and they kind of decide very early on in life that they want to be in Bollywood, and they kind of come from there. Whereas with Sushant, it was interesting to read about his life, because he was actually on a different track, and then he suddenly switched tracks in his life. So I was then kind of really interested in his story, and how, I mean, the years that he did spend in Bollywood, and started to get more interested in his work. But yeah, so it was obviously very sad to read about the fact that he had committed suicide and taken his life. After seeing some of his clips on YouTube of his interviews, he struck me as a really humble, genuine, down-to-earth, intelligent person. And it's just in general very, very sad to see that he took this, he made this decision.
Right.
Yeah, go
Right.
ahead, man.
Should I? Yeah. So right. I mean, yeah, my recording just stopped for a bit. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So I think I'd like to start with saying that I obviously enjoy watching Bollywood and Hollywood movies, but I'm not a very big Bollywood person per se. But I think Sushant Singh Rajput was somebody who really kind of whom I connected with a lot, because I think he was a very natural actor. He was somebody who came from extremely humble origins, as Vidhi pointed out. I did watch his movies. I watched Dhoni, and I watched another one which I liked better, actually, Byomkesh Bakshi, which is on this famous Bengali sleuth back in the Second World War in Kolkata. So very interesting setting, and extremely good acting as well. Well, and coming to the subject which we are discussing today about nepotism and whether bullying is there prevalent in the Bollywood industry. Well, I wouldn't go that far as to say that it's widely prevalent. I wouldn't go as far as to even make a sweeping statement on, in any regard on that front. But having said that, I think it's very clear that there are signs that oftentimes favoritism, a certain lobby which kind of works within the Bollywood circuit, as in any other industry probably. I mean, even in other places, you would see people having a certain degree of nepotism, a certain degree of favoritism, let's say. But if there is any truth to what Arnab Goswami alleged, and various others have as well, and obviously this is still kind of being investigated by the police, I mean, it will be very tragic, because as Vithi was saying, I mean, he was a very intelligent guy. He was a very smart guy, self-confident, knows what he wants to do. Even, in fact, he also owned a strip of land on the moon, apparently. I mean, this is something I got to know recently. And clearly, he was very interested in physics. So a very big loss, I would say. A very vibrant, dynamic young man who, went far too early, far too soon, and talent lost, I would say. Talent really lost.
Ria?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So as a child, I used to watch Sushant Singh Rajput on Pavitra Rishta, and I must admit, on television, he was my most favorite actor. And then his initial few movies like Shuddh Desi Romance and I don't know, Kai Poche. Kai Poche was one of his best movies, but I haven't watched that. But after I watched him in MS Dhoni, I entered as an MS Dhoni fan, but I came out more of a Sushant fan. So I loved Sushant, and after that, I started following him in all of his interviews. And what struck me more, what made me like him more was his smartness and everything. So yeah, I mean, I really like, and I do not believe that a person like him, because if you see all of his interviews, he said that he does not care about money, he does not care about films and anything. I personally do not feel that he would take a step like this. So certainly there is backstory to it, and yeah, we must.
Oh, so you're saying you think it's not just a suicide?
Yeah, I don't think a person with the level of intellect and his attitude towards life, I don't think someone like him would commit suicide.
So
but what would be the motive?
I think what Ria is saying is that maybe sorry, but
Yeah.
I think she's saying that I don't think the reason he took his own life was because he saw himself as a failure. I think that he was a fairly intelligent person, and intelligent people usually get around, they kind of internally, mentally kind of work around, the kind of the facts of their life, and they're kind of able to have a very deep perspective. So I don't think he took his life because he saw himself as a failure, and that was the end of the matter. I think that maybe there was just a kind of a very deep conspiracy behind all of this, and there was something insurmountable in his life where he felt that this was the end of the road for him, and I mean, obviously we don't know what that is. I mean, he hasn't.
No, but in Vidhi, I thought Ria was saying a bit more specifically that she thought that there was something more than just
Yeah.
Just
I don't think it's
yeah.
I don't think it's a suicide. I think it's what do you call it? Like it's a provoking of some sort. So something led to this. So I don't think a person like him would commit a suicide, because if you watch all of his interviews, he said that even if he doesn't get a film tomorrow, he'll start shooting a film on his own. So
yeah, well, I think I'll follow from there. I think what she's alleging, and that's what I kind of get from what she said, is that there is a certain element of abetment to suicide, which is basically that there were conditions created, or there were circumstances which were made to be such that it, as Vidhi said, it was almost the end of the line for him. But I would like to kind of delve into two things here. One is that we often tend to think of mental health and, that entire domain as fairly linear in some ways. I mean, we see a person in public life, we'll try to kind of get what the person is thinking or, being or behaving as, and try to read more than what probably the person is even letting out, essentially. I mean, I don't know how many of you read about his, trials with depression, for instance. Many of his movies spoke about that very vocally. There were people like Shekhar Kapoor who spoke about how people disappointed him, and there was a lot of pressure on that front as well. Specifically for the professional side, I think there is this allegation by Sanjay Nirupam, this Mumbai politician, saying that there were 7 movies he had signed up after Chichore, yeah, and they were all cancelled, or he was removed from the projects for no, I mean, very good, not a very good reason, essentially. So I think these all could have, yeah.
So this is very interesting. I want to go now to the meat of the matter, which is this pernicious influence on Bollywood. Sorry, I'm expressing an opinion here, even though I'm supposed to moderate it. But of Karan Johar, who, in my opinion, is the worst thing on Bollywood since for a long time. And we have to also examine the role. Like, we cannot talk about this academically. Sorry, I know all three of you are into academics, but how can you ignore the fact that he was publicly mocked in television in Coffee with Karan by Alia Bhatt and Karan Johar? So,
I need to say something. So we can't turn this into a witch hunt, right? And I think that everybody should have a place to exist in society, or any industry for that matter. Of course, within the bounds of the law. And as long as anyone is not breaking the law, then they have the right to exist. They have the right to be who they want to be. They have freedom of speech. And I think these are fundamental rights that are guaranteed under the Indian Constitution. So we can't really turn this into a witch hunt and pin it all on one person. I think that's really not interesting.
Yeah.
But I see where you're going with this, like, broadly. I mean, that, yeah, he is considered to be one of the kingpins of Bollywood, and
Kingpin, Queen Bee.
Arnab Goswami used the word cabal that he loved. I mean, he was like, oh, there's this cabal, and then there's all these people who are in the cabal, and they kind of do his work by not inviting people to parties, etc., etc. But okay, bottom of the the story is this, that you're going to have ups and downs. Yes, you're not going to be always within the kind of privileged group. You're not going to be invited to parties. Maybe that can happen. You're not going to have, friends might betray you, friends might backstab you, etc., etc. I mean, I don't really think these are just strong enough factors. I mean, we have to look deeper than all. I mean, this, obviously, we know that this happens in Bollywood, right? And, people come from different backgrounds and different wealth statuses. There's the whole kind of class privilege thing. So, but for me,
but as Arnab Goswami said, that Bollywood is more interested in importing mediocre Pakistanis than it is in nurturing homegrown talent. Sorry, we are.
I don't want to go into that statement, but okay.
I think I'll carry on from where Vidhi left. I think, so Vidhi, you're mentioning about this one person and the fact that, he was not called for parties and all, but I think what I was hitting at was something deeper, something more directly related to his career, directly related to his status and identity as an actor, for instance. As I say, if there is, and the big word is if here, if there is any substance to this allegation that there was a concerted effort by not one, not two, but a fair few of these production houses, or these groups of people who did not see him as somebody who was really an insider, who was really meant to get the big roles. For instance, I heard somewhere that they said that you should be left to web series and television programs. I mean, for a person of his caliber and of his talent, if that is what is being said, just because he doesn't have a Bade Baap ka, Ashirwad or hand over him, that's just ridiculous, right? And that is what I'm hitting at. It's not the, parties, and obviously that's important as well. That makes you feel at home, that makes you feel comfortable. But if it is directly affecting somebody professionally, I mean, even in our, area, for instance, in academia, for instance, for some reason, if there is a certain study or research which is, targeted as outside the mainstream and not really to be considered as, the go-to or acceptable thing, then I'm sure that will affect you in various ways over time. And, I'm not saying we will probably end up taking the same steps, but it will not be the most conducive to a healthy development and growth of that individual. So yeah, that's what I was kind of.
Yeah, no, true. That's right. So
guys, let Riya speak.
Yes,
please.
absolutely. Yeah.
Like to counter with this point, yes, coexistence is important, but while coexisting in an environment, you have to let another person survive as well, right? Like, you can't block the roads for another person. Like, everyone was shelving his movies and stuff like that. So I don't think they were allowing him to coexist. No, the problem lies that they were not allowing him to coexist.
Okay, I understand.
That's what I said. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yes, and also Kangana, and let's forget, Kangana Ranaut has also spoken on this as well. Yeah. She made a really powerful clip, and she was the one who talked about nepotism in Bollywood. So I don't understand now that he's actually taken his life via people mincing their words so much, because obviously, unless you're a Khan or a Kapoor, and now they're married into each other, so you're Kapoor Khans. But I'm just saying, you just don't have a chance to really do well in Bollywood.
Hang on. So we need to be very clear here as to, like, what MJ said was that, yeah, if there was a kind of planned, strategic kind of effort by some kind of a mafia to prevent him getting movies, to stop production houses from supporting him, to stop directors from casting him, to stop actors from working with him. Now, if there's evidence of that, then yeah, that is against the law. And I'd be very glad to see the people who kind of perpetrated this to actually be punished. So absolutely. But what I'm saying is that I don't think that I genuinely don't believe that it would have been such a kind of strategic effort. Usually it's bad enough when human beings behave in a way so as to just naturally prevent certain people from advancing by creating an atmosphere and a culture, and then kind of dominating and owning that culture and making other people incapable of being able to follow in that culture. So,
but in Bollywood is the national cinema of India, right? Bollywood actually shapes the entire psyche of the Hindi-speaking nation, maybe not the South. So when you have Bollywood that's controlled by this cabal or mafia where homegrown talent isn't given a chance to thrive, Kangana Ranaut was made fun of because she couldn't speak English properly.
What do you mean not given a chance? Because certainly he did do 10 to 20 films in his 10-year-long career in Bollywood.
Yeah, so but then you see some bakwas actor. What is this Panipat? What was Panipat? Who's the actor in Panipat?
Arjun Kapoor.
Arjun Kapoor.
Yeah. How many chances does he get with his bakwas?
Yeah, and also if you look at the film awards, for instance, and the kinds of films that get awards, I mean, there is a certain element of patting each other's backs. I mean, you can't deny that. I mean, you have Ananya Pandey, I think, who has got an award recently, but there's so many other better actors and performances which are just consigned to, annals of history and not even cared about twice after that, right? So I think that's very important to look at. As far as just one point. Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned about the whole thing about whether it's that widespread. I'll give you just one small story regarding the Sushant Singh Rajput incident. On Times Now, or I think one of the news channels, I was watching an interview, a discussion, and I think it was Ranveer Shori, I think, who was, speaking up for Sushant Singh Rajput very strongly, actually. And within a half an hour, or I think 45 minutes, I think he got a text or something, right? And he immediately flipped. You should have seen the kind of the change in the nature and the tone and tenor of the person after just a few minutes of TV time. And I think that speaks for volumes about the fact that it is so powerful and influential that if you end up speaking against some people, and just obviously this is not something I can give you evidences for, but the way it happened was very absurd and very kind of out of the blue. And so I don't know. I mean, we don't have the facts, but I'm just saying that given these things we broadly see, there could be a possibility that there is more than what appears to the eye, and there could be a certain concerted effort on that front.
I mean, it seems to me a bit of a stretch of imagination. Well, I do concede that the kind of cultural domination and the groupism and the way natural cliques form can be very, very insidious, and this can be really harmful for people outside trying to get in it. It makes a journey very painful. I agree and I concede.
But when Sushant Singh Rajput died, sorry to interrupt you, Shah Rukh Khan's status was, he loved me so much. I mean, what sort of megalomaniac do you have to be to write such a stupid and unempathic statement? It isn't about how much a man loved you. Right, and the problem with the Bollywood is that we've coronated
people in Bollywood are not known for their intelligence or eloquence.
But that doesn't matter. But I'm saying that we've nominated 3 Khans, and for the last 30 years, they've been dominating the industry. And sorry for mine. I'm ranting. Yeah. I'm the Arnab Goswami of this channel.
What I'm afraid about is if we name too many people and this video is publicly posted, then you're going to get some serious backlash. So I would just say that if you want to name people, yeah, we should. No one should be afraid of naming people, but we should also moderate. Like, this is not a witch hunt.
Yeah. And I think I agree with you there. I think it's not a witch hunt. I think whenever I also spoke about those instances, I said that is what it seemed to me. That is what I felt about it. I may be completely wrong about it as well. But we have to look at both the sides. Also, one more very important thing is that we may be thinking a little too much here. Sushant did not leave a note. We don't know exactly what the circumstances are. And even after the interrogation of, I think, Riya Chakraborty and a few others, we may not know at all, ever. So we can only have speculations. We can have informed guesses, I guess, to an extent. But that's all that we can possibly have,
No, but I'm sorry, but I actually disagree with both of you. First of all, none of us are trying to. I don't know. Ria's been trying to raise a hand, so you can speak, Ria. Sorry.
No, I was,
Oh, okay. No,
I
I'm saying that
said,
none of us are applying for Bollywood, and why should we be afraid of saying what we want to say? It's a free democracy, and we can call out people for who they are. Yes, Alia Bhatt did say who is Sushant Singh. She mocked him publicly. Whatever it
Sonam
is, you're for.
Kapoor.
Huh?
Sonam
Sorry,
Kapoor
Ria?
as well. Sonam Kapoor.
Sonam Kapoor as well. And first of all, a lot of the films they turn out are guttier. Why doesn't Bollywood get international respect? Is because a lot of this cabal actually make very shit films. So the problem is that Karan Johar's films are an
I
international
think
joke.
we can't use such
Shah Rukh
sweeping
Khan's movies are a
statements, Zakria.
disgrace.
Zakria, we can't use such sweeping statements because we are
No,
just
but
putting the
I'm saying, I'm
discussion
sorry, Shah
down.
Rukh Khan, but what is his last movie? Zero, Miro,
Also, I just want to say one thing.
they're unwatchable. Salman Khan's movies are trash. But okay, Amir Khan is the only one who has any.
Yeah, but this is a matter of opinion.
No,
Like,
but
the
Bollywood is a
audiences of
national
India
treasure.
decide, not someone.
No, Bollywood is a
someone like
national
you.
treasure, and it has to be loosened. The grip of these Johars and Kapoors. Kareena Kapoor is not a good actress. Like Kabir Singh was an amazing film. Okay, I'll give Kabir Singh was excellent film. Like that was a startlingly good film. But now also Bollywood has evolved where it is actually a strategic asset of India, and it cannot just be left to these sort of mindless entertainers. And when you lose talent like Sushant Singh, it also affects the aesthetics. Let's be real. Sushant Singh wasn't considered a sex symbol. Like, if you think about it, also the aesthetics of Bollywood are that you have to be a Khan, you have to look a certain way, you have to act a certain way.
This is the kind of cultural domination. That's what I'm saying.
But he was so handsome. Who said he was
I
not
thought he was
sexy?
handsome. The thing is, I had never looked at
He
him
was
properly.
amazing. I loved him.
Yeah, but he doesn't have that, like the whole thing is that Bollywood is creating such a prototype of how you succeed that you have to be as close to a Khan or a Kapoor as possible.
I am not in
to say
favor of
something
that
about the media.
because I look at Ayushmann, look at Rajkumar Rao. They are all popular.
But they're not sex
successful.
symbols. But they're not sex symbols.
Ayushmann, come on, Ayushmann. If I agree, Rajkumar is not, but Ayushmann is really popular.
Yeah, but look at the roles he plays now. Ayushmann Khurrana
he doesn't get awards. He doesn't get awards. Yes,
yeah,
that's
and
an issue.
But Ayushmann Khurrana has not had a leading male role. Like even this last movie, Vidhi, what is this called? The one about the
which I liked. I saw it.
Yeah, but look at the role that Ayushmann Khurrana played. He played a very sort of like from the okay, that's
I think it was a perfectly nice role, but then that's because you think that Bollywood is all about the male romantic lead, and it's not.
Yeah, but the male romantic lead goes back to certain actors who hold those roles, and those are the main roles that make money, generate press, create attention. And then
I think the audience has now changed. So I think
there are both sides. I think there are both sides. I think if you look at people like Hrithik Roshan, Tiger Shroff, and so many others, I mean, all Bade Baap Ke Bete or Betiya. I mean, again, I don't want to name call essentially, but there were actors who were not doing well at all, and it was only by the influence of their fathers, for instance, they got in. I mean, one can't mince words there. That is how they got in. Simple as that. I mean, at least for Hrithik Roshan,
right? Foot in the door, sure, but at the end of the day, what is Bollywood? It's about whether the audience is like you or not. Right?
Yeah, but in this case, I mean, if you look at Hrithik Roshan's trajectory, I think he has repeatedly had to have certain launching paths again and again and again, and usually it is with the Koi Mil Gaya, Krish, whatever, that whole series, right? So I mean, and also there are so many other cases where people have just gone downhill and they have then molded to what a certain kind of way the industry has wanted them to, and they have succeeded, right? So
in any
both sides
industry,
are there.
you're going to have people who come in with certain very strong advantages, which almost gives them a head start, and it kind of ensures that they have a higher kind of threshold in the sense that they can fail multiple times and they'll keep getting chances because producers.
And you're right, and that is why I go back to the point that nepotism is there everywhere. For instance, recently I read a news clip. I don't know how true or verified that is, but Sachin Tendulkar's son apparently got an opportunity in cricket over somebody who had scored a record number of runs in the domestic series just because it was Sachin Tendulkar's son, right? So I mean, this is not something which I'm saying is only in Bollywood, but I'm saying that if we disregard that is also not being genuine and honest to what the truth is. I'm saying obviously there are Ayushmann Khurranas and obviously there are Amir Khans and so many others who have made their way from scratch essentially, but there are also people like Hrithik Roshan and various others who have not. right? So it's a combination of the two. You know, they're both sides.
Absolutely.
And
But what I'm saying is that the solution, I mean, we need to understand that we cannot regulate any industry or any profession or any domain to such a degree that you have to now compensate or tax people if they come in with relative advantages.
But then
That's
I
impossible.
agree with you.
One can have reforms. One can have reforms and try to make it go towards that direction. I'm not saying obviously we can reach that, but I mean, a talent must have a fair kind of, you know, launching pad if there is talent and merit. And all I seek is that should happen. I mean, not only in Bollywood, everywhere for that matter.
Yeah, because I just want to echo MJ's point of view, right? Sorry to interrupt, but we have a very classic example in India politics where you have Rahul Gandhi, who's the scion of 5 generations of leaders, and you have Modi, who is the chai wala. No, you can't get away from the fact that Modi comes from nothing, and you know you can go to his village and whatever, and you know the chai wala is now leading the country. So in a way, the Indian people have spoken that they say no to nepotism. They have said they say yes to meritocracy, for better or for worse, but Bollywood isn't listening to that signaling. Bollywood is still in the 1980s, 1990s yesteryear, where you still have the cabal, you still have the old families. As you know, Suhana is also getting groomed, and Janvi Kapoor was being groomed. So all these, you know, younglings, pencilings are being groomed, and you just don't see the talent, you know, and that's where this is the problem. That's why you're going to have Indians go abroad.
Yeah,
because
but Zakaria, what you're saying is cannot be controlled at all. It is completely natural if your father or mother have been in Bollywood and acting with the wealth and the fame and the popularity and the glamour.
But then those of
your
us
children
with privilege,
as a default want to come in, and it's a default that your parents will help you out. You cannot control that. It happens.
But then all I'm saying that we have to call out people with privilege, right?
Yeah. I would like to disagree, and I would like to agree with Zach here. I think that's free ticket syndrome, the free ticket protocol, whatever that is. I think that is something I am fairly against. I think I've always believed in meritocracy. If you have the merit and if you have the talent, I think that should be the launching pad. Obviously, you're right, Vidhi, that in the real world, we do have those influences and factors. But I think we as a system, as a people, can try to go towards a scenario, a setting where that is not so, as much as it is right now. That's all.
I just want to also discuss what is the role of the media in all of this? Why is it, I want to know, that the media is crazy about following the children? I mean, children who are not even teenagers. I mean, you know, of these actors and actresses. Like, what is with that culture? And we have in our country, Taimur Ali Khan is followed. He's clicked like hundreds of photographs of him every day. They're published on the net. I mean, you know, Shahid Kapoor's children are constantly photographed and clicked, and there's countless others. You know, so we also have to. Who's the onus is on several different parties?
No, I think
it's on the audience, because we want to see it. If we neglect them, if we don't see them, then they'll stop clicking those pictures.
Let's also talk about that. Let's also talk about our own proclivities.
Yeah. But I mean, if we think about Bollywood and let's say the Gandhi family and certain other families from the political, scene as the royalty, the modern day royalties. I mean, sorry to put this here, but I mean, how is it very different from what happens with the royal family babies of England? I mean, you have them everything from what they're wearing to where they're going to when they smile to when they waved. Being reported every single minute, you know, wherever they go.
They're going to be the prince, or they're going to be king someday.
Some kind of blue-blooded royals? No, they are not.
For many people,
Khan is actually a royal.
They are. Yeah, and actually they are. That's right. You know, Pataudi's family is royalty basically. They had a princely state. I mean, before independence, and they are royalty. So I mean, for people, they are.
I mean, right? I mean, I think that, you know, that's obviously absurd. But I just want to point out that the audience, to some extent, the audience have to take some responsibility.
I disagree with the idea of collective responsibility, because the point is that now you have to also name and shame, and they have to remember. Karan Johar now has to remember when he's programming his films that he just can't randomly launch this star and launch that star. So you have to actually call out the issues so that you don't have another 5 or 10 Sushants.
I think I want to say something. Yeah, I absolutely agree that maybe now the big producers who are responsible for kind of shaping and molding Bollywood and responsible for releasing a record number of films, they have to now carefully think hard and assess about, you know, are they being fair in who they're launching, who they're picking up, right? But I want to just bring in a subtle point here. This is about our understanding of merit, right? In different scenarios. Now, if you live your life a certain way, you've grown up a certain way, you're educated a certain way. Your understanding of merit is shaded by all those factors. So what might happen, and then there's also this thing about witty humor, right? So like you have Alia Bhatt saying, oh, Sushant Singh who, and that was a joke at that time, and everyone laughed, and oh, it was a witty joke or whatever. But then that's because poor thing, she's always been pressurized. I mean, she's been called dumb, so she's trying to be witty and funny there. So, we also need to understand this, all these kind of.
But then Sushant Singh Rajput, Vidhi, Sushant Singh Rajput is the George Floyd of India. See, the point is that in some ways George Floyd has a lot of but why did it trigger Black Lives Matter, right? It triggered Black Lives Matter because he's a symbol of the movement. And in some ways, we also have a Black Lives Matter, sort of moment happening in India, where you have this huge population that is disenfranchised because of nepotism and meritocracy. Modi didn't get to where he is today because he was whoever he was. He got despite, so many other things that I don't want to go into, but I'm just trying to make the point that India will only become a modern, developed and prosperous nation when it actually absorbs meritocracy. And meritocracy means that your parents couldn't afford to send you to an English language school, so you're going to be a Vernac. As an example, so much of the national discourse is, exclusive to English-speaking people. Liberals are English-speaking, so they mock the people who can't articulate. So the whole idea is that we have to also have this whole Hindi lives matter or whatever, merit matters to some extent, and that's, you cannot disregard the symbolism of the moment. And what Arnab Goswami is saying, he's trying to take a hammer and he's trying to smash the whole infrastructure of power that's just holding, the native talent back, so to speak. And we have to call it out because
I think we're going in that direction. I think that's the decolonization project in some ways in the minds of people. I don't know if you guys have read that there was a notice sent for the change of name, which was a bit too much, a change of name of India to Bharat. And there's various other things which are happening. But we are moving towards that direction. But as they say, right, there are some guardians of each sector. As they say, there are some people who are, watchmen. That's a crude word, but watchmen and watchwomen of a certain kind of area, right? So, and if they have a certain orientation and they have a certain kind of bent of mind, I think it's very tough to kind of bring that systemic change, because they've already put in so much of talent elements basically with that kind of orientation, that to go against it would be to overhaul in some ways some fundamental tenets that have come in because of them just being there, essentially, right? So it's a start, and I really hope that this whole movement, this whole awakening, if so to say, can help in that direction. But I have my fair bit of skepticism as well, because I don't see the kind of regret or the kind of whatever. I don't see any kind of awakening on some people's paths who were apparently very close to Sushant Singh Rajput as well. So one never knows if it's really going to make that much of a difference.
Yeah,
I have a question. Are we all gonna stop watching a movie with star Shah Rukh Khan's daughter? Are we gonna stop watching that? Are we gonna stop watching Ananya Pandey's movies?
Yes,
Are we gonna stop watching Tiger Shroff's movies, Hrithik Roshan's movies?
At the end of the day, everybody has. A large segment of the Indian populace, they want to see and they're curious about seeing the daughters and sons of previous generation stars. It's just undeniable. But it's not a given that they would be successful. I don't think we can stop them from coming in. I don't think we can stop them from getting multiple opportunities.
This is the same language you talk about white privilege, right? See, why is it that white people, what is the whole Black Lives, let's analogize the two movements. Black Lives Matter rests on the assumption that because white people are given more chances, they're given more chances to fail. They're given more chances to practice their craft.
Hence, they succeed at a higher rate.
Exactly. So like this last Panipat movie, which starred Arjun Kapoor.
Which was a flop.
Yeah, it may have been a flop, but he was given a huge leading role for like a blockbuster, like a Padmavat type film. But I'm just trying to say, those opportunities and chances, what if Sushant Singh had been in that role and, had been able to break through as a heartthrob?
You know what? I'm happy to concede that Bollywood is just not a meritocracy in the truest sense of the word. It is an alternative meritocracy in the sense that, it's a partial meritocracy where the audience decides if they like your film.
But then that's because there is a Karan Johar, who is the gatekeeper, and there's a Shah Rukh Khan who will go around and with beautiful English, they'll go to Western capitals and try to pump up Bollywood. But that's why Bollywood has never been able to reach the stature of even Iranian cinema. I'm just giving you as an example. We talk about why Bollywood doesn't have that international stature is because it's not producing the acting or the storylines, like it's producing
I agree that there is a pathology within Bollywood. I agree.
Well, I agree and disagree with that. Yeah, I think there are things. I mean, I don't know if you guys have watched Mother India. There are various other older, movies. Satyajit Ray, for instance, was got various National Academy related accolades as well. I mean, there have been so many kind of achievements.
This is all pre-Karan Johar.
Yes, well, but also recently,
that's what I'm saying.
We have had some really good, for instance, Irfan Khan was somebody I really admired. I think he had such natural.
Did Karan Johar find him? No,
not really, but he
did
survive.
He was never invited to Coffee with Karan.
Yes, and also he
was never invited to Coffee with Karan.
Exactly.
Sushant Singh Rajput.
We have to talk about who is the problem. Karan Johar is the Rahul Gandhi of Bollywood.
But he did make a mark. I mean, if you look at the Hollywood scene, right? Irfan Khan was one of the few, besides I think Amitabh Bachchan and I think Aishwarya Rai.
First of all, Irfan Khan was very good, but what I'm saying is that we are talking about one person, Karan Johar, who is actually keeping Bollywood very mediocre. And let's be honest, right? And he's actually doing a national disservice.
Well, I mean, let him do what he wants to do. How can he?
And
he doesn't
he
own
made
Bollywood. Why is being invited with Coffee with Karan a definition of you being successful? Is that a definition of success?
It's not the definition of being successful. No, it's not the definition of being successful. It's the definition of Karan Johar's acceptance. And because he was not accepted, Drive, his Netflix movie, Sushant's Netflix movie, was not supposed to be a Netflix movie. It was supposed to be on the big screen.
Zach. Also, I think we are confusing what true quality is. I mean, because obviously I understand where you're coming from with the fact that the plots are too melodramatic, there are too many songs, it's far too long. I mean, all of that, and I myself, have always complained about some of these things. But having said that, I think a lot of people appreciate it as well. I mean, for instance, Dabang, right? I mean, that is a whole series which I have. Sometimes I just feel like you should leave your brains in the freezer and come to watch the movie. Probably. I mean, that's the way.
Which movie?
Dabang, for instance, right? Dabang. I mean, some of these.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, come on.
Right. But if you go to Uttar Pradesh or Bihar or some of these places, you will find people going crazy. They will just, they will,
no, but that's okay. Mithun Joy, that's okay.
Right? So I'm just saying you have to. They will look at
the. What I am saying
is to cater to Indians, not.
No. Again, I'm sorry. This is again the same. This is the same reasoning that see, India has voted for Modi, and in some ways, Indian audiences absolutely will go for the masala films. The problem is that Karan Johar, who is the most prominent and the most successful filmmaker, has stuck to masala films, turned out by what you call like the same nepotistic dynasty, when someone like him in a Hollywood equivalent would start branching out with independence, featuring unknowns, taking those risks, and actually driving forward.
I would just like to correct some facts here. Yeah, it's true that in the early days of Dharma Productions, which is Karan Johar's company, I don't know if you know, they were they used to mainly kind of maybe support cinema that kind of fits their definition of what they want to, what they see as what's going to be successful. But I think in the last couple of years, they've supported all types of cinema, albeit maybe not in the proportions that they should be supporting alternative and parallel or indie cinema, but they have been as well. So I think that we can't just be, we need to be clear of the facts. I think Dharma Productions they produce Lunchbox, for instance, which had Irfan Khan and Nimrat Kaur, and this was an international global success. So there are examples of that, albeit they can do a lot more. And I think that the question, I think the more insidious question here is about the culture of Bollywood. Who is seen as a star and who is not seen as a star, right? I think that is really the key question here. And who dictates
and who is the star maker? Who is the king maker?
Who is the star maker? Exactly. Now
and there's only one person.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I mean, I don't even know if that answer can be given. I mean, because see, if you look at the ways in which Amir Khan and Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan have come to the top, I think they have had extremely different trajectories. I mean, even others. Amitabh Bachchan has had a very different trajectory. Rajesh Khanna has had a very different trajectory. Dilip Kumar, who came from very simple kind of, origins, Devanand, for instance, I think all of them have had very different trajectories. So some are known for their very natural acting. Some are known even for their voices. Amrish Puri, for instance, right? The moment he speaks a dialogue, people are just, there's a way, there's a gravity, there's a, a way of saying it. So I don't think that's a very simplistic answer. I mean, just like books, right? Novels and music, for instance, what appeals and what does not appeal, to whom it appeals to, it's very subjective and very kind of, tough to pin down, essentially.
Yeah, just like for Kartik Aaryan, Sonu Ke Titu Ki Sweetie was the kingmaker, but Karan Johar was not associated with it. But Karan Johar only talked to him after Sonu Ke Titu Ki Sweetie, after he was popular. So.
But that's fine. That I can understand,
I think
right?
it's complicated as well. I mean, I don't know, do any of you guys know how it feels like to be Karan Johar or in his shoes? I mean, it must be also a really a tricky task when you're getting like thousands and thousands of people, like aspiring actors who want to connect with you and think and want to have a shot with you.
But then you only have time for
a large number of them.
But you only have time for the children of your friends. No,
yeah,
I mean, then you have a national responsibility.
He has to do more. I know. I mean, given the fact that he's been catapulted into this huge figure globally, and nationally, given his, the kind of heights he's reached, he now perhaps has to take some responsibility of nurturing.
And Arnab Goswami is right that there's more interest in importing Mahira Khan and Fawad. I mean, as much as I like Mahira Khan and Fawad Khan, but
who? I'm sorry, who?
The Pakistani
actors.
Mahira Khan and Fawad Khan.
Are you doing the Alia Bhatt on them?
No, really, I don't know. I know Fawad Khan, but I don't know what Mahira Khan. Who's that?
She was a Pakistani actress she did one movie, Rise with Shah Rukh Khan.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, okay, sorry.
Yeah. So all that I'm saying is that, as much as it's nice to do that, my only point is that also you have to nurture the homegrown talent. And it's interesting that every time MJ is speaking about the actors, all of them are from yesteryear. So all
really.
the actors,
not really. I mean, some of them are.
Of course.
I mean, well, I mean, you yourself mentioned Ayushmann Khurrana. He was not somebody who came from.
But Ayushmann Khurrana is not a sex symbol. He is not a star in that sense.
Oh my God! What
his movies are not going to.
So yeah, this is the problem, right? That why is it? I think that Bollywood is changing its course now. You see a lot of films now which are really not based on, you don't need good-looking actors and actresses to be a part of those films. Are films about ordinary people, ordinary Indians, films about rural India, where you need to really have actors who can really portray those characters, not some glamorous, fair, but even
tall, dark, handsome.
Like, most of I have a greater issue with that most of the female actors you see in our industry, they have to conform to a certain standard of beauty, which is they need to be fair and tall, and skinny, and where are the roles for average looking Indian women, or stories about Indian women where you don't have to have all of these metrics. So that
Bhumi Pednekar. She does all the girl next door roles.
She's also fairly.
Yeah, she's gorgeous, but she always does the roles of girl next door.
Yeah, but then why can't we actually go and recruit from the drama school someone who, is...
Yeah.
Bhumi Pednekar is an outsider.
Yeah, she is. That's right. I like her. I like her cinema.
Yeah. And I think that movie Bala, which we watched together, I think there she portrayed a very important role. Yeah. Feminine ideals.
I really like her.
I'll give you an example. Tapsi Pannu and Bhumi did this film, which I didn't watch, but my mother told me about. Old women, Sant Ki Aankh. Exactly. I don't understand why they actually didn't recruit 2 women of the requisite age bracket, which was 60 plus women. Yeah. And they actually had to recruit Tapsi Pannu and Bhumi Pednekar, gorgeous women in their early 30s,
can I say something?
Women in their 60s and use prosthetics.
Can I say something?
Why can't you go to a drama school and recruit women of the requisite age?
This is the hypocrisy of the Indian liberal, who actually they absorb the outer layings of westernization, but they don't realize that Bollywood has a problem with caste depiction. It has a problem with color depiction. It darkens the actors. So God forbid, if you want to, like this Pudnika, whatever, this girl, Bhumi Pednekar, she played a Netflix role as a maid. They blacked her up. Even in that Bala movie, they blacked her up as well. These are things that in the West, we just don't do anymore. So the point is, now my thing is that, but there is a Karan Johar. He's very suave. He wears $700 shoes. but he can't understand what the latest
$7,000
trends.
shoes.
Huh?
Not
$7,000 shoes he wears, but he doesn't understand the latest ideology in terms of, you know, color, caste, or gender roles, gender.
Elitist, I'd
I
say,
think that we need to
aristocratic.
stop. I think we're digressing a bit, so we should conclude anyway in the closing remarks. But I think that we can't just keep reverting back to Karan. He has as much a right.
He is Bollywood. Like, if you say that one person who is
I don't think so.
Bollywood.
Frankly, I can't remember the last film I saw of his. I can't remember. I didn't like
Me neither.
Mushkil. I have seen.
I hated
I have
that.
to confess, I've seen all his films.
Bad movie.
Yeah, that was.
I hated that.
You know, I think we should now conclude and we should give some closing remarks.
Why are you laughing?
Cool. I mean, I think, yeah, I made my point, which is that I think both are there. I mean, there are obviously self-made actors out there, actresses out there, and there is a certain bit of favoritism and nepotism. I think what we can do, and at least try to take this as a wake-up call, because for me, Sushant Singh Rajput's death was kind of personal as well, because I really liked him as an actor, and he was a very simple and genuine person. So I think his, I wouldn't say sacrifice, or his, the way he passed away, may have had an effect from the industry side. And if that is so, then I think we need to wake up and we need to make sure that the system is more conducive to real talent and growth of actors.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say that we need to stop thinking about Bollywood as some kind of a popularity contest. Because if it is a popularity contest, then yes, then Karan Johar is the most popular figure. And then all of his people, his friends and core circle are going to be dominant. But I don't see Bollywood as a popularity con. I think it's something much bigger and more than that. And I'm actually more interested to see actors like Sushant Singh Rajput, like Rajkumar. It's sad we lost Irfan Khan earlier this year. And I'm more interested to see really stories about I'm kind of tired of I actually I don't consume the kind of mainstream Hindism. I don't like the song enough. I don't like romantic stories. So I'm kind of, I'd really hope that Bollywood kind of emerges from that. I mean, while, yeah, you need to still make those movies because people like to consume it. But beyond that, I don't think Bollywood is about glamour, popularity, and beauty. It's about acting. It's about showing stories about real people, hard-hitting stories. And, and I think that Sushant Singh is really tragic that he reached a point in his life where he thought that he just took his own life. I mean, it's shockingly sad. And it's what I feel most sad about is that I only discovered him after I heard about his suicide, and I'd never really bothered to. I mean, I'd not seen any of his films. I haven't, and I'm going to see one of the last film later on this week. Yeah, I think we need to also think about how we define success. It's not about popularity. It's not about how many Instagram followers you have. It's about are you doing work that you can be proud of? And I know it's hard to think like that, but I think we need to just reevaluate. And I think that maybe to some extent Sushant Singh had to reevaluate in his mind, like why did he think of himself, in whatever way he thought of himself, that he wanted to take his own life? I think he was successful. I think he did great work. And so we need to reevaluate these notions. We don't get them from outside. I mean, for me, success is I have my own notion of it. And I evaluate for myself whether I am successful or not. I don't really conform to any benchmarks or standards. So I don't think, it is about popularity or fame. I think it's much deeper than that.
Yeah.
Concluding remarks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any. I mean, yeah, I'd only like to say that we should not just blame the inner circle of Bollywood. We should also focus on the audience. I mean, the audience needs to think very, smartly, I guess. Yeah, of what they want to see, because we have so many idiots who just like to watch nonsensical movies. So yeah.
So yeah, thank you all. I won't make any concluding remarks since I said so much. And hopefully next Sunday we can do one on Ladakh as well, and India's response to COVID.
Yeah, just watch out for a text from Karan Johar's team.
It's okay. They've been trying to hire me anyway, so let's.
Right.
Or PR or negative PR?
I don't know. Okay, Chava. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.